Hello, everyone. We're back. Yes, we are back. Uh, the people you see on the screen here are board members of the Slave Dwelling Project. We made a lot of decisions to get us to where we are right now. 2 years ago, when we wanted to do this physically, meaning face to face, eye to eye, uh, COVID came in and it dictated a lot how we proceeded from that point. And because it proceeded from that point, we are here now. We did this conference virtually. So I want to thank everyone who participated in whatever way, shape, or form that you did. I want to especially thank our sponsors. For those of you who signed in, for those of you who've had access to this, you saw them constantly streaming, but they are 1772 Foundation, Magnolia Plantation and Gardens, and Clemson University's various elements of departments at Clemson University, and Dr. Rhonda Thomas. Yes, yes, yes. Let's thank them, jazzy hands and all. And Rhonda Thomas was our representative at Clemson University, and she did a beautiful job in getting us to this place. I certainly want to thank all the directors of all the sessions that came through. Um, we got over the technical aspect of what needed to be done to do all this. What we interspersed all those young minds and those older folks like myself, who it's a bit more challenging, when you have to press these right buttons to make these things do the what they are capable of doing. But I think we did a beautiful job that speaks of the organization itself, as to how the minds that we have to integrate and meld and bring together, the conversations uh, uh, that come out as a result of mixing all of these people together, this mosaic of people that we cater to. I certainly want to thank all the speakers. You guys did a beautiful job, and you guys, your presentation is going to exist in the form that it is, the electronic form that it is, for the next month or so. So you guys want to direct these your fans. I know you've got networks and followings to where you are specifically, because when they admire you, they admire us. So we'll take it in that manner also. There is someone I want to call out specifically. Her name is Corey Hip. Some of you were getting emails from her constantly. She has been that person who stepped in. We were going along nicely, and the person who Corey replaced, luckily for her, she got a brand new job teaching sixth graders. And for you teachers out there, in any way that you teach, you know that if you're a teacher, especially sixth graders, you got to dedicate your time to that. And the time that was required to make us as efficient as we were was just not there for her. So congratulations to Mrs. Zimmerman, for her job as a sixth grade teacher. And Corey stepped right in and she filled that void, and she did it beautifully. So what I'm going to do right now, guys, you've been listening to me pretty much all week as I spoke to you, and told you a lot about the Slave Dwelling Project and why we do what we do. I want to yield some time to the board members. I want to let them. We're going to go around and let them take maybe 2 minutes or so, to talk about, why they became a part of the Slave Dwelling Project, and why they still are. As I look to the screen here, I'm just going to go to my left. To the left of me is Angela Dickey. So I'm going to start with you, Angela.
Thank you, Joe, and good morning, everybody. And thank you for coming to our conference and sticking with us to the end here. It's been a wonderful, wonderful, and educational opportunity for me. And I think these conferences, as well as the Slave Dwelling Project in general, are so meaningful because they integrate I like that word, integrate. They integrate many people from very different fields who are interested in the same thing. We have academic historians. We have historians who work in the soil and spend the night in the cabins. And we have ordinary people telling their history, the history of their families, doing genealogy work. We have archaeologists. We have people writing books. And everyone is working towards the same goal of telling the truth about our history in this country. And it takes all of us to do it. And I'm so proud to be a part of this organization. And thank you for joining us and supporting us. And please do stay in touch with us as we go forward. And let's continue all these wonderful collaborations and synergies as we move forward. Thanks, Joe.
Thank you, Angela. Next, we'll move to Catherine. And if you can tell where you're from in the U.S., that would be great.
Hello, I am Catherine Haskell, currently residing in Dallas, Texas. I believe I am the newest member of the Slave Dwelling Project Board. And so with that, I'm thankful to have had this experience. This is my first conference with the Slave Dwelling Project. I have enjoyed it thoroughly. And we'll go ahead and say my first introduction to public history was with Dr. Battle Baptiste as a mentor. And as I stated previously, working with her really inspired me to continue my journey in doing this work. As a member of the board, with our strategic plan in place, I'm looking forward to our continued work as we engage with doing the work of public history and telling the stories of those of my former ancestors. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Next is Leslie.
Hi, I'm Leslie Stanton. I'm joining you from Ann Arbor, Michigan, which is on Anishinaabe land. I'm learning to pronounce that. By way of explaining my involvement with the board and with the Slave Dwelling Project, I want to tell you just a tiny story. It's like a weird coincidence that while I have been attending this conference for the last 2 days, my church, which is like one of the oldest churches in the town of Ann Arbor, it's Episcopal Church, we're not known for being radical, decided at the urging of the Social Justice Ministry, which I'm a member, and the vestry, to put up a large Black Lives Matter banner. And kind of mistakenly, the email announcement that we were doing that went out under my name instead of like Social Justice Ministry. So while I've been at this conference where we're all, the choir, I think, we're preaching to the choir, I have been fielding phone calls from angry parishioners. Why are you doing this? Black Lives Matter is it's a Marxist organization. It's a covert way all of this stuff from Fox News. Forgive me for getting political. And I've had these long conversations with people and I've been hearing things like, well, for instance, last night after this conference, I had an 86-year-old woman, very nice and polite, but saying to me, you are destroying our history. And it was so eye-opening, particularly in the midst of this conference, to hear that. And I said, no, we're just trying to tell the truth about what happened. We are trying to address the history. We will never heal the wounds in this country if we don't tell the truth about what happened. And she said, and then, things like, well, it was Africans who were enslaving Africans, and on, like this litany of stuff. And I'm in the bubble here, with all of you, and I don't hear this stuff. And it was a sobering reminder and a powerful reminder of why we're doing this work and how important it is. And I just want to remember something that Susan Neiman said in her keynote yesterday, which is when the Germans began seriously confronting the crimes of the Holocaust, it started with groups like this, small groups of people getting together saying, we have to remember this history, we have to confront this history, we have to tell the truth. And that's what we're doing, and that's why I'm here. Thanks.
Next is Nicole Moore.
Hey y'all. I'll be quick because I think a few of y'all have seen me multiple times this week. but I'm Nicole Moore. I am reporting live from Canton, Georgia, which is about 30 miles outside of Atlanta. And I have been kicking it with Joe pretty much since 2011, as part of the Slave Dwelling Project, just watching it grow from the overnight stays to then the living history to the conferences. And so I am here as a public historian whose focuses on the interpretation of enslavement at living history sites to help ensure that the message of the project moves forward and that we become a beacon for historic sites who are looking to do this work, who are looking to do community engagement, and who are looking to almost kind of risk it all to tell the truth. So happy to be here. And I am going to actually pass it to Tanya Timmons.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Tanya Timmons, and I have a unique connection to Joe. We were friends, church friends, and talking to his wife, who's a really good friend of mine. She goes, "Can you help them out?" I had no idea what the project was. I was like, "Sure." I serve as the treasurer, and I also like the bean count. So, I've been like in a little bubble. This is also my first conference, but boy, have the blinders come off. I just learned so much. I felt like I was in school. I like to have a notebook of notes. I don't know if anybody else did that, but just the information that I learned, and I can't wait to share this. We definitely will be changing the narrative. It's probably a new agent of change. So I'm like excited. So that we in person next year. I'm ready to like block it out on my calendar. I'm like super excited, and I feel like this conference just gave, at least for me, like a boost of energy, to keep telling our history, because some of the things I learned I didn't know. So if I didn't know to share it with kids. So I definitely have just a new respect for this project and what it's doing. So I'm super excited, and I want to thank everybody who attended this week, and it was just amazing. So back to you, Joe.
Beautiful. Well, three board members couldn't be with us today for various reasons. Frederick Deshawn Murphy is a board member. History Before Us is his organization. If anybody I guess I'm the only one who could probably put that in the chat. History Before Us is his organization. Jonathan Williams is a board member, a school principal in North Carolina. And Elon Cook is employed by the National Trust for Historic Preservation. And guys, the missing three are just as mosaic as you're looking at the screen right now. So, so that's that's what makes us thrive, guys. I heard somebody use the term preaching to the choir. You guys might be in that bubble and preach to the choir, but I'm in a place where I get the pushback too. But the pushback for me is good. It's inspiring to me. It makes me know that this crazy idea that came out of his head 11 years ago still has traction, still relevant. Because if the pushback was not there, then why do it? You just, that is preaching to the choir if you don't get pushback. So there is all that. So what I'm doing right now, guys, I'm just kind of scrolling through these comments with you. I know that eventually I'll probably get to a question that one of you will ask. So I'm trying to do two things here. So thank you for the comments that I'm kind of putting on the screen right now. And if
Joe?
any of you, yeah, go ahead.
If I can pop in, I think it was it Laverda? Sorry if I'm going to get that wrong. Yeah, who said she hopes this remains virtual. It was wonderful and afforded many of us a chance to attend and participate. And it might be premature to talk about that, but I think that it raises an interesting question. I'd be curious to know what others think, both in the audience and on this board.
Yeah, for those of us who follow science, I think virtual is certainly a good way to think at this moment, at this time. I think that when we made the decision to go virtual, I think it was a very wise decision, just based on what we're dealing with right now. So, Laverta, thank you for all that, and Laverta, you did beautifully in hosting. I appreciate you stepping up in the manner that you did. And Stacy Adger says, kudos to all, great job, heavy topics. Yeah, very heavy topics. We came out of the blocks very strongly with Dr. Jeffries. And thank you, Nicole, for the role you played in helping us to get Dr. Jeffries as a part of all that we did. It inspired us to come out of the blocks real strong, and we stayed strong throughout this marathon of the last 3 days that we went through. Now, members, if you see something else that we need to address or talk about, let's go ahead and do that. Because right now I'm just kind of flashing these comments here on the screen.
You know, I got you, Joe. Because I've been reading the comments too and putting stuff in the chat. I think
I would
in
like to
terms
just add
of
something to that, to the point. Unless you have a different, if you have a different point, you go ahead. But I wanted to add something to the point that was just made.
about oh no, I was a virtual and in person. I
Okay,
think this
go
I
ahead. Yeah.
would love to be in person. I would love to do this in person again as well, but I do see a really strong value to us being virtual. We've got people from California, we've got people from New York City, we've got people from all over that may not have been able to come down to Clemson. And so I feel like we've been able to cast a wider net of participation being virtual. And it's a way for us as an organization to really connect these narratives to various parts of the country where people may not know the histories that's in their neighborhoods, but are learning about it or are willing to share the research that they've done about what enslavement looked like in Western states, what it looked like way up north, where everybody's like everything was fine when it was not. I just think that there's a benefit for us, although worn out on screens, but there is a huge benefit for us to connect in this manner. There's something about being in person though, where you can like kick it with people after a session, but there's also a very strong power in us being able to utilize technology to reach as far. We were international Wednesday night, so to be that far
Also,
out.
it's so much cheaper to attend. I mean, we are so accessible. And that's, I think what we need to do is, and I would love to hear from listeners, but I think sending out a survey afterwards and getting some data about how people feel about that. But yeah.
Okay,
I
beautiful.
just want
Catherine.
to add to, right, what Nicole was saying. In my opinion, I think a hybrid model would be best, because having heard the story about Clemson, not having heard it before, to me, it would have been so much more had I been on the Clemson University campus, and then also maybe to have done I don't know, a field trip or a site visit to some of the places that the speaker was talking about in regards to Clemson. So in my opinion, I think hybrid would be best. And also to your point, Nicole, in my experience, when I've attended conferences, I just feel like the engagement and the networking and the relationship building is so much stronger when you're actually with those people in person. So I would like to see a hybrid model.
Yeah, a beautiful idea. Hybrid is a thing. Just know that Leslie and I are engaged in conversation with an organization. I missed the last meeting, Leslie. Did we come up with a name for that group?
Oh God, the Stono. I'm gonna look it up. It's the Stono commemoration. I gotta look it up because we did come up with a good name. Sorry, I'll find it.
Yeah, and that discussion that we're in might be our conference next year. Now that has to be a collective decision with all the other folks that we're dealing with. We're in that group is a lot of academics, and I like academics. They have their place, but the strength that the Slave Dwelling Project brings to this is we bring the everyday people. We bring those other disciplines, if you will, those other genres, those other people who are not the academics, but just as powerful to this message as the academics are. So that's the strength that the Slave Dwelling Project brings to this discussion that we're now in. Go ahead, Leslie.
It's the Stono Legacy Project. And we are working with a group of affiliates. It's all sort of in the, early planning stages, but we want to devote next September 2022 in and around Charleston to an array of events, including possibly a slave dwelling project conference, also other events, could be culinary events, arts. And we're also doing this to commemorating the Stono Rebellion, which took place in 1739 in and around Charleston, and also looking at other acts of rebellion and resilience. But again, we're sort of in the planning stages, and this would also coincide, we believe, with the planned opening of the International Museum of African History. Am I getting that right? In Charleston.
Yeah, International African American Museum, which focuses on the importation of enslaved people. Yes. So yes, anything else, guys, that that stood out to you this week? Some of you guys were parts of sessions. I think the session that Nicole was a part of with Dontavius, I knew that was powerful. It was powerful for me. Very easygoing. People were giving input. You had your audience relaxed. But and then there's that session that Leslie and Angela were a part of with Karen Branham. Once we overcame the issues that we had to the best that we could at that point, I thought the presentation was powerful because there was that courage of you guys to not run away from that history, that history of your past, of your ancestors enslaving people. I think that letting people know that and not being afraid of that, I think is a good thing. It's very powerful, certainly powerful to me, and impressive to me that you guys were willing to do that. So we need more of that. I'm hoping that you guys encourage more people to come forth with that kind of information and that kind of boldness.
I'm just looking at this comment by Shelley Murphy. And I guess I would love to know, please consider a partnership with organizations like Maggie and the Center for Family History, IAAM, who offers and will offer educational sessions focused on African history. And I'd love to hear a little more. And maybe Joe, you can reflect on that, but that's an interesting comment.
Yeah, we partner. If they're ready for us, we certainly are ready for them. You guys kind of know how we operate, our mission and what we do. We don't run away from that elephant in the room. In fact, we want those elephants to be in the room because that's our subject matter. We don't run away from those things. So there got to be our organizations out there that are not afraid to do that. And those organizations are out there and want to come aboard with us. We are certainly willing to do that as the Slave Dwelling Project.
And I'm also seeing a question earlier from Paul Carr. What are some of the long-term goal highlights for the organization? So maybe Joe and Angela is heading the strategic planning committee. Maybe the two of you could say a few words.
So yes, we have been going through a strategic planning process. In the midst of planning a conference, Angela Dickey has been spearheading that. She's the tip of the spear, and she's gotten the input from all of us as a board. And some of you on this call may have been a part of that process. So Angela, if you want to expand on that.
Okay. Are we crazy or what? Trying to do a strategic plan in the middle of a conference plan. But anyway, yes, we think the Slave Dwelling Project is such a great idea for moving this country forward. We want to keep this project going. So we are trying to look at what the next 5 years might look like in strengthening and expanding the Slave Dwelling Project and getting it on an even firmer foundation so that it will continue. And there are many aspects to that, obviously, in running a tiny NGO, a tiny nonprofit, which we are, essentially with volunteers. We want to obviously support all the people who work so hard for this project, and especially our interpreters. who are out there telling the true story with Joe when they do the living history presentations at the sites where Joe does the overnights. This is an important activity. We also need to get, on a firmer donor foundation, and we want to improve our ability to write our grants and be more explicit in what we need, because we know we are needed, because if we weren't needed, you all wouldn't be here. We can see that we're greatly needed. You all participated via a survey that we did of all our supporters. We got great ideas from you. Then we interviewed a lot of key stakeholders, and we are still working on putting the plan together, but it's shaping up. We welcome any good ideas and any good connections y'all have for helping us. So thank you for the opportunity to speak to that, Joe.
All right, beautiful. Somebody asked the question, where am I sleeping next? Louisville, Kentucky. That was one of the group that is newly formed in Louisville, Kentucky. About 2 years ago, Leslie and I went to Kentucky for the first time for the purpose of sleeping in a slave dwelling at Locust Grove. And at that particular event, there was some great conversation. In fact, the conversations usually last about 2 hours. Well, we went into the third hour, and we were still going strong before we had to break away. So out of that came this coalition of other sites in the Louisville area that once enslaved people, and now the mission has expanded to certainly interpret the history that existed at these sites, but also connect the dots to the history that exists now. In other words, what does Breonna Taylor's death have to do with the history of these sites? So, we connect those dots, by talking about the police forces that were formed in that period in our history, the continued disenfranchisement that existed even beyond freedom. So that's what this coalition is all about. I get to go to Louisville this month. So that's the answer to that question about where I will stay next.
Hey, Joe, since we have an international audience, I think, right now, and certainly a national one, is it still your goal to spend the night in some sort of dwelling in every state in the country? And maybe you can put a plea out there.
It still is. And Leslie, we almost had Michigan. We were almost there with Michigan. And then COVID said, nope, slow your roll, pump your brakes. So we certainly want to try to get that back. So far, we've reached 25 states and the District of Columbia. Now, some of you may say, well, you're already kind of above and beyond where you should be. Well, don't think about it that way. Think about this, guys. Everybody carries around a little computer in their pocket. Google your state in slavery. See what pops up. Some of you might be surprised. So whatever surprises you, get that information to us, and you be the ambassador for getting us to that place in your state where our mission matters, because this is also that effort to combat the pushback against our subject matter becoming taboo in some states. In other words, there's this effort out there to make our mission inaccessible to younger minds, and we need to fix that, guys. And one way that we can fix that is to be there physically, and being there physically may mean that it's only me, or it's me and the rest of the team being the living historians, broadcasting from that site, whatever the science may dictate that we do. But yeah, it is our goal, and thank you, Leslie, to spend the night in every state in this nation where slavery applies. And for those you in that northwest quadrant, think about this. Think about the Lewis and Clark expedition, and think about York. If York passed through your state on that expedition, then slavery existed there. If indeed that's all we got to go on, then so be it. Let's go with that. But thanks. There's the information there about our board member Frederick Deshaun Murphy, who could not please
Mhm.
guys. Uh, you guys got to go into that website. This gentleman is phenomenal. He's doing some great things. He's quite a videographer, if that's the proper term, but he does it
Yep.
and he does it well.
Hey Joe, getting a lot of questions in the chat. So exciting. Phyllis would like to know if you would consider coming to a former plantation in Tallahassee.
Yeah, Florida is very thin on in the portfolio. It's there, but it's there at the site of Kingsley, near Jacksonville, and we want to expand it. So the short answer is yes. It seems like we're going to have a conversation beyond this, but yeah, we can make it happen.
Mhm. And if you and Leslie would expound a little bit upon where in Michigan you all were going to do that stay that
I'm gonna,
almost happened.
as a proud non-Michigander who's lived here longer than anywhere else in my life. That's so weird. I'll just pop in. We were planning. We've had twice. We've planned and then had to scrap because of COVID. An overnight at historic Deerfield Village, in part of the Henry Ford Museum in Dearborn. Am I saying Deerfield Village? Dearborn? Oh God, I'm getting it all mixed up with my previous existence in Massachusetts. Anyhow, part of Henry Ford Museum. But I do want to say, Joe did, we have sort of explored possibilities in Detroit, but it hasn't gone anywhere. So if anybody has connections, that would be great. But Joe, we did get you here virtually at University of Michigan, I'm happy to say. So I think that counts to some extent earlier this year. So.
Yes, so that virtual thing, it has relevance. We can do that. I almost got the key to Magnolia Plantation and Gardens, guys. So, if you're in that situation, if you want to bring this to your audience virtually, we can do that. I could go,
Mhm.
and now my movement might be a little limited, with the Wi-Fi, but I can certainly be there physically at that site at
Mhm.
Magnolia Plantation and Gardens, and we could go live. I could do that from any site for that matter. Now we
It
just
was
gotta, yeah,
sorry,
we,
it was a super rich experience, and we did it with University of Michigan students. So this is a great opportunity for anybody in a classroom, higher ed, secondary, whatever. Just pop in.
all right. Guys, our time is going great. We've got about 13 more minutes to get all these in, and Nicole and Les, if you can just still help me monitor these comments and pull the questions out of there, that would be great.
Question about, are you returning to Oatlands Plantation in Virginia?
I remember that. That was a real good stay. I know that they're under new management. I don't know, and I also heard that the management that's there now are not as enthusiastic about the mission, our mission, what we sell as the former manager. But I got to find that out for myself. I can't go by hearsay. I've got to contact them directly because, again, thank you. This is timely because now that the conference is almost over, and I can exhale, we can exhale. Um, then I got to put that call out there, that notice out there to those organizations that we've dealt with in the past, that we are indeed putting together that 2022 calendar. And that's important because we want to make that announcement, if not at the end of the year, very early in the year in 2022. So we want to have all that. We want to have all that laid out. We've already got a few dates in place. So I'm going to use that, and I'm going to communicate with those places that we've been negotiating with, the places that maybe we want to go to again for however many consecutive years we've been going to these years. We want to build on that. There are some places that are not yet in the portfolio that we want to get into the portfolio. There's certainly those states that Leslie alluded to where we have not yet been. So we certainly want to do that. Any opportunity to go international. This triangle of trade was just that. It was a triangle. So we want to touch all those places that we can.
Listen, if anybody wants to get us out to Barbados, holla at your girl. We
In
can be
February, please.
historical. We can be historical and learn and teach and also rest. We would love to
Yeah.
come.
Yes, 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 yes. Hey, I got a contact in the Virgin Islands.
Hey,
Maybe I should make that happen. Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Okay,
There
we
are
can.
some wonderful uh, whatever messages here, and I'm just looking at so many places. Do we do get a copy of this chat? I hope, Joe, because there's some wonderful suggestions I'm seeing. Huguenot, and thank you to the person who corrected me, Greenfield Village. That's embarrassing that I missed that, but that just proves that I'm not from Michigan originally. Ohio, going to Ohio would be wonderful. Um, yeah, Westchester County, West
Ok-
Virginia, Harper's
Oklahoma.
Ferry. Is there Oklahoma in here?
Yeah, they said thank you everyone. We at Hunter's home in Oklahoma are so grateful for all.
Wow.
Oh, that winter something got in the way. Yeah, Oklahoma's a possibility. That's beautiful.
And
What
Bodator.
I think I
And
love the
I'm,
most, I was going to say, what I
go
think
ahead.
I love the most about the project is how it has sparked sites and individuals to seek out these places in their states so that we do get to hear about the Oklahomas and that we do get to take a deeper dive into Michigan. It's been really exciting watching kind of that organic process happen.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah, that is nice. Some of these places that I've stayed, guys, it took a while. When I stayed at George Washington's Mount Vernon, from the time that I had the desire, well, from the time I made the initial request until it actually happened, was a 5 year span. Uh, uh, the time I stayed in Mississippi, Natchez, Mississippi. Natchez, Mississippi prides itself on the Gone with the Wind version of history. So I was trying very hard, right out of the blocks to get to Natchez. Well, I only did that last year. So it sometimes it takes a while to get into these places. So I said that to say this. If anybody got any connections to the White House, while this window is still open, let's try to make that happen. There's a Decatur House right across, uh, almost across the street. That has relevance also. All these places that our ancestors built or a part of or has some history with, then you guys be those ambassadors to help us get there. The Arlington House, Robert E. Lee's house is now back online with a more concentrated effort on telling the stories of the enslaved.
Mhm.
That's another prospect. A lot of people call me a little crazy for this one, but there's the Bevoirs or Beauvoirs, however they're pronounced. There's the house in Montgomery, Alabama, that used to be Jefferson Davis's house. Of course, there's that Richmond connection of for Jefferson Davis. We
Hmm.
can't rule these places out. They are just as an important part of the story. When I stayed at Fort Monroe, I had the fortunate I had the opportunity to do that this year. Of course, I wanted to stay in the cell where Jefferson Davis slept, but they wouldn't let me do that. So, maybe next time I could pull that one off. So
Joe,
so so go ahead, members. You got anything else?
Joe, how many presidential sites have you stayed in, and how many remain?
Well, there were 12 slave owning presidents. I've stayed at five. Let's see: Monticello, Montpelier, James K. Polk, the Hermitage,
Mount Vernon.
and Mount Vernon. Yes, those five.
So
Yeah.
what's that? We that put that on our list too.
Yeah, more presidential sites out there where we need to go. I think the low hanging fruit is probably James Monroe. Um, that's we gotta get with the College of William and Mary um, to make that happen because they are affiliated with each other, and the College of William and Mary itself. Also in 2020, we had plans to spend a night on that campus because, of course, they have a history that's deep into that institution of chattel slavery. We got to we got to get that back on the calendar also. Um,
Shelley has a question about Montpelier, and we actually have we have a long relationship with that site. Maybe you can say
yeah, Montpelier, very strong connections with Montpelier. I've gone on a few of those archaeological digs. I've gone there and we built a cabin from the ground up, guys. I mean, a log cabin. And if you want an appreciation for the work of our enslaved ancestors, build a log cabin from the ground up.
Ooh.
I want to see if we can maybe get something like that funded again, and we can get some folks from around the nation to meet up at Montpelier to build another log cabin. So I got to get with my friend Matt Reeves out there and see what we can do for 2022. I also participated in a family reunion there, a family reunion of the descendants of that site. And guys, Montpelier has taken uh, this interpretation to another level. Not well beyond. They've gone beyond interpretation into governance. They participated in a very bold move. The descendants of those who were enslaved there, are now official board members. I'm not talking, being put in a corner somewhere where you want to hear when we call on you. No, it's not that. They are they're now in the governance structure of Montpelier. Now that guys, that when every organization that once enslaved people can get to that level, that's the ultimate. That's the ultimate. So they are doing that there. Hey guys, we got about 3 more minutes. So um, anything else we need to address before we sign off?
Joe, I wonder if you could say something about, you have a couple of teachers who regularly bring groups of students. Like there's somebody in Wisconsin, I think. And I just wonder if you could put the seed out there for other people to think about.
Yeah, for the last however many years, I've been meeting a group from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, from let's see, Marquette University High School, a Jesuit Catholic school of young men. Somewhere in these United States, we meet, and I look into the portfolio to wherever they're going, whatever they studied that year. I look in the portfolio to the place that they're going, then I make contact with the stewards of those places, and I arrange for them to meet me at those places, and we spend the night. We spend the night at these places. So if there are school teachers out there, if we're at a place when we get back to that place where it's comfortable to do these things, when the science dictates that we can pick that back up, yeah, we could do that. We can make these groups or these occasions specific to your group. We have done exclusives before for organizations, whether we do it physically or whether we do it digitally. We can make it happen. Um, so, guys, I wanna thank again everyone, everyone for participating in the conference this year. It's been a success. We learned. We learn as we go. I got this thing I say, learn as you go and go as you learn. Some of my some of these board members here may attest to the fact that I'm a little rambunctious. And
Smidge, smidge.
and and be hello, how are you? Yeah,
Valeria said
I'm
it's time.
yeah. So yeah, but it is fun. We do what we do. I don't feel it a chore to do anything that I do, but it does require proper governance. It does require a strategic plan. It does require putting the things in place to ensure that this will still prosper beyond my existence.
Hmm.
So I'm glad. I'm thankful for all of you who have been a part of the slave dwelling project thus far. We will huddle collectively, guys. We will shake and stir this thing. We will look at the see what comes out of it, and then we'll make the proper decision of how we're going to do this thing next year. And
Hey,
we will
Joe,
certainly keep you guys apprised. Go ahead, Nicole.
don't forget at 1 o'clock, it's in the announcements in the Socio app that we are, because we had such a good time on Wednesday, we are going to do a short little final get together at 1 o'clock. The Zoom information is there. You don't even need to register. All you need to do is click on the link.
All right, guys. Thank you all. Thanks for participating in changing narratives and changing times.
Woo!
Woo!
All right.
Thank you,
It's a wrap.
board.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.